Jacko here, welcome back to another YouTube video where we look at ways to improve the way we breathe to affect how we move, how we feel, and then how we perform. And today's video is going to focus very much on changing the way we move, because we're going to be looking at using the breath to improve our rib mechanics, mobilize the ribs with the breath, and then also use that to help with some rotational patterns that's going to improve your spinal mobility. It's also going to improve your shoulder mobility, and you're going to feel this from the very first breath. So we're going to use the breath very specifically, and we're going to look at the inhalation and the exhalation. On the inhalation, when we overdo the inhale, we're going to breathe through the nose. We're going to try and get as much air in as we can, really open up and widen through the ribs, open up the space between them, and try and literally get all the air in the room into our lungs. That helps to facilitate global extension patterns. That's very good for opening up. On the exhale, we're going to forcefully try to get rid of as much air as possible. That allows the diaphragm to return back up to its resting position. It also helps the ribs move down towards the pelvis, and that closing down provides that good movement of the ribs, opening and closing to facilitate good diaphragm movement, but also it's going to help mobilize those ribs to give you a better rib cage alignment, spinal posture, and then improve your shoulder range of motion and mobility, because remember, those shoulder blades sit and ride on the back of that rib cage. So if we improve your rib cage position, because we're mobilizing through those ribs, we're going to improve your scapula, your shoulder blade position on the back of them, and that improves your shoulder range. The key to this is, really nice, is that we're going to look at some rotation. So I'm going to rotate to one side, and then during that rotation, the side that I'm rotating to, we want to use the breath in those. So a big inhalation, focus on that one side when I'm trying to open up those ribs to help with that rotation, and that's going to use to mobilize the ribs on that side. And then on the closing side, the side that's coming towards that rotation, so here my left, I'm going to focus on the exhale. I'm going to drive the air out of the lungs, and I'm going to think about trying to get those ribs down towards the pelvis. So I've got these two opposite things going on in this rotation: opening up and widening on one side, creating space, and then trying to think about closing off and shortening the space on the other side. So it's inhale on this side, exhale on that side. Specifically then on these inhales, it's going to be in through the nose, and you're going to be widening as much as possible. You can probably see my ribs through the t-shirt here. I'm looking to really open that infrasternal angle, the angle those ribs make with your sternum. So you can put your hands on there and think about opening and widening them out. That's what we'll be doing, but we'll be focusing on one side. And research shows that if you think about breathing into one side of your body, then you get more breath into that side of the lungs. It's fascinating just to think that you can do that with your brain, just by thinking. But just doing it on both to start with, widening and opening up that angle. Get as much air in as you can. When you don't feel like you can get any more air in, squeeze a bit more in, and then relax. And we'll do it on this rotation in a second, and then just getting used to it being on both sides. And then the exhale, we're going to forcefully blow air. Imagine you've got a straw and you're blowing air out of a straw. We're going to try and bring those ribs down together. So normal breath in, and then forcefully get more air out. Stay tall. You'll feel your abs tense. Keep pushing out. When you don't feel like you can get any more air out, there'll still be a bit more. And you'll really feel those lungs come down together, and relax and take a nice breath in. So that's just literally trying to get full big breaths in, and then used to getting it out. Now we're going to do this on the using this rotation, but before we do that, I want you to test out your shoulder range. So I want you to lift your shoulders up above your head. How does that feel into shoulder elevation or shoulder flexion? So where you're bringing the arms fully overhead, and then also take your arms out at 90 degrees at the elbow. And what is your external rotation, and what is your internal rotation like? So just have a feel of what that feels like when you come down and when you go back up. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel restricted? What are the arms like overhead? Okay. Now, also just thinking about how does your breathing just feel in general now. When we loosen up this thoracic spine, it's going to help. And when those ribs move, it's going to really help your breathing feel a little bit like you've got more space and more ease of movement through that spine. It's going to feel nice. So let's look at this then in the rotation pattern. You're going to take one arm up to about 45 degrees. I'm then going to turn away as far as I can, My feet are going to stay fixed on the floor. I'm not going to let my feet turn at all, but my hips and my shoulders and my chest is going to turn. And then I'm turning and rotating, and that's as far as I can get to. So you can see the mark on the wall where I can get to on that shirt. I can't go any further, okay? I'm not messing about. That's me trying to get as far as I can. Now, in that end position, I'm going to breathe into that side that I just talked about. We're going to breathe into that side I'm rotating to. Big breath in as much as I can, and then I'm going to force the air out of the other side and unwind. You're going to see what happens. So I rotate. You can hear the noise. That's me trying. That's the noises of trying hard, right? So I can't get any further. Now breathe into this side. Long, big breath, widen through the ribs. Keep breathing. Keep getting more air in. When you don't feel like you can get any more in, tiny bit more. Widen those ribs, and then force the air out the other side. And start to rotate more. You see that difference, that range that we've created? How does that spine feel now? Oh, feels great. There'll be a load of shoulder activation at the back for your posterior cuff, your posterior deltoid as well, which feels great. Now, you're going to be able to literally just after one breath, like take that arm overhead. How does that feel compared to the other one? It feels a ton better. How does that rotation feel? Feels really nice. This is just one breath, and we'll do it on the other side as well. But I recommend doing 3, 4, or 5 repetitions of these as part of our like warm-ups when we're just trying to mobilize the ribs and mobilize and increase a little bit of range of motion at the shoulder. Great to do as part of your warm-up. So I'll try the other side now. So arm goes up at 45 degrees. I rotate. I'm normally a little bit tighter on this side. You know, it's not abnormal to have a little bit of difference from one side to the other. So hold that position there. That's as far as I can go. Yep. Okay, so breathe in now to this side on the left. Widen those ribs. Open up. Try and get more air in. Bit more. Bit more. And then force the air out. Start to unwind. These ribs down towards the hips. And then feel that activation around the back of the shoulder and that extra rotational movement through the thoracic spine. So the ribs we're helping use the breath to mobilize the ribs. The spine is then getting a little bit of mobilization. Better rib cage positioning allows those scapulars that ride on the rib cage. They have to ride on the rib cage. They can't go anywhere else. They get to improve the quality of their movement. So you can go back in now and check, how does that shoulder position feel? How does your rotation feel? Not only might you have more range, it might feel a lot smoother. If you had a little bit of discomfort at some of those end ranges, it might have taken that away. By just looking at mobilizing through the ribs, helping mobilize the spine and give ourselves a better rib cage, and then shoulder scapular shoulder position. So 3 to 5 repetitions of that. I've just done 1 on each side. It already feels a ton better. I want you to try this one out. Use it as part of your warm-ups before you do any of your like upper body training work that you might be doing. Also, just take a few breaths in and out now. You might notice that those ribs feel like on the way in, I can create a nice sense of widening a little bit easier. And on my exhale, as I relax, I can just feel those ribs coming back together nicely. The ribs are so important. The articulation of the ribs so important to allow good movement of the diaphragm. We're going to be doing a whole separate video on how to make sure we're doing the right rib movement and articulation and use of the diaphragm in terms of the biomechanics of how we should be breathing. I'm going to put that in a separate video altogether because it's quite a big topic as well. This one, hopefully you've felt the difference and you're going to start to think about how you can use your breath to mobilize your ribs, improve your spinal mobility, and have a knock-on effect and a little bonus on for the shoulder mobility as well. So have a go at that. Let me know in the comments if you find that that has made a dramatic improvement for you straight away. Hopefully it is done, and if you have any other questions about breath work or using the breath to help mobilize the body and move better and feel better as well, then let me know in the comments. Final thing from me is just a massive thank you for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, there should be a subscribe button obviously below, or there's one if I move maybe just there. Give us a little subscribe. We're early days in this. We're starting off trying to get to 100. 100 will be the first milestone, getting close. Give us a little subscribe, and then you won't miss out on any of the other videos that are going to help you to improve the way you breathe, improve the way you move, feel and perform. I've been Jacko. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.